Hi, I'm Andrew McNeese, and this is Tactical Review. While I'm an expert at nothing, I do have a fair grasp of critical thinking, and as such, that gives rise to opinions, lots of opinions. And that's what these videos are all about. Just my opinion, nothing more, nothing less. So if you enjoy what you see, enjoy what you hear, feel free to like and subscribe. Today, we're going to talk about the KelTec KSG. Yeah! For those of you who are unaware, the KSG is a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. It is of the bullpup design and is equipped with 2 magazine tubes, allowing a capacity of 6 + 6 + 1 of 3-inch or 7 + 7 + 1 of 2 3/4-inch shells. Its barrel length is 18.5 inches. Its total length is an amazing 26.1 inches. It weighs 6.9 pounds. This test version has additional non-stock furniture, but out of the box it comes with 2 Picatinny rails, one across the top and one along the bottom. As a side note, the bottom rail is made of plastic. There have been cases, I have heard, of people mounting vertical foregrips and having that rail fail. So for that reason, I do not recommend vertical foregrips on this weapon. Controls are fairly straightforward. Forend, trigger guard, safety, magazine selector down here, and ejector port is along the mid portion of the stock. After going over several reviews of this weapon, I found them to be quite mixed. While some people experienced flawless operation, others experienced a range of problems ranging from punishing recoil to feed and eject problems to burned forearms from expended cartridges. Given these, I was a little nervous to see how this particular sampling would fare. And here's where I want to be particularly clear. My comments here are on this particular sampling and will not necessarily represent what you will experience should you acquire one of these weapons. The first thing that I like to do is a cold feed and eject test. That involves loading the weapon to capacity with inert ammunition and then cycling the action to test the feeding and ejection. Straight away I experienced what I thought were ejection problems. It seemed that every other round simply would fail to eject. But on closer examination, I found it wasn't an ejection problem, it was a feeding problem. Not every cycle of the pump would successfully pop a shell from the magazine, and thus there was nothing to load into the chamber, and that's what gave the illusion that I was having an ejection problem. There simply wasn't anything there to eject. The problem, however, was not consistent, and so I delved a little deeper into the mechanics of how the action works. There I found that the critical function of popping a shell from the magazine and positioning it for chambering all occurred during the last 1/8 or so of the stroke. In essence, I found I was short stroking the weapon. When I adjusted to a consistently hard backstroke, I found that it fed and ejected consistently every single time. On the range, I used a strong backstroke and had perfect reliability with 0 feeding or ejection problems. Recoil was surprisingly manageable. Now, make no mistake, this weapon kicks, and it kicks hard. But if you have that stock planted in that shoulder pocket area, in my experience, I had no unusual discomfort whatsoever. Now, it so happens that I was wearing a light jacket when I field tested the KSG, and so I didn't have any burning on my forearms. Unfortunately, I didn't think to toss the jacket and give it a test with the bare arms, so I can't really speak to the problem some people have with the burned forearms from the ejected cartridges. Alright, we moved to a little different area. Lighting is going to help us a little bit, I think, on this. We're going to do a quick field strip and reassembly. First step is always to make sure the weapon is cleared and completely empty. That has already been done. So we're going to start. Also, I'm going to leave the sling on. We're going to start by removing the disassembly pins. One located here and here. Push them from the opposite side and they pop right out. They sort of pop right out. This one is a little bit tight, so you can just push from the opposite side, give you a little more to grab onto, and it's out. All right. Next, the grip assembly, which you can pop it up, and it just rotates out like that. And then the buttstock removes. This is a fairly new weapon, and so it takes a little tap to get that to pop off. There we go. And then the bolt, we'll just retract the slide a little bit, and then the bolt pops out very simply. All right, so that is your disassembly for field strip. Now the manual suggests using a tool and removing these two end caps so that you can detach the barrel from the magazines. I don't really find that necessary for basic cleaning, and I'm not going to go into that there. It really complicates the reassembly process when you detach the barrels from the magazines. Reassembly can be a little bit complicated, and that's primarily because of the bolt. The temptation might be to invert the weapon so that the ejection port is on the top, and then you can just drop that bolt in the way it came out. What I found is it is next to impossible to get everything to line up properly if you do it that way. What you have to do is make sure your slide assembly is all the way back and invert the weapon so that the port is facing down. You take the bolt, and you'll see these little claw-like structures on one side. You hold it by the firing pin, and on its side with that claw-type structure facing towards the left as you're looking from the back of the weapon, you slide it right in here, and then you rotate it so that those claws are engaging the mating surfaces on the structure. And then you can move the slide forward, and that locks the bolt into position. Okay, once that's done, then we can return the buttstock into position. Just slide it in, give it a little tap to seat it. Then there's a special mating surface that the forward end of the grip assembly needs to engage. Make sure that that's seated in place properly, guide it into place, and then I usually a little chop there, and it's ready for the pins to be snapped back into place. Pin number one, pin number two. Once it's all together, you want to check function. And it's back together. So, bottom line, what do I think of the KSG? Well, the only issues that I had function-wise were based on user error. Once I corrected the short stroke problem, this weapon functioned 100% reliably. Personally, I like the bullpup design. Its overall diminutive length lends itself well to close quarter operation. That makes it something worth considering for home defense. Overall, I had a good experience with the KSG and generally give it a thumbs up, with the understanding that your results may vary. So there you have it, the KelTec KSG. I'm Andrew McNeese, and this is Tactical Review.